This particular one I'm going to say now is one that I really struggled with in Ethiopia. I feel like it's something that can be improved on. Hey fam, welcome back to my channel. Thank you all so much for coming back. How you all doing? As for me, I'm fine. You can see I'm back home in Nigeria, as you guys already know. First of all, I want to say thank you for the love, the support, and everything you all did for me while I was away, right from my travel to Congo, all through my stay in Ethiopia. You guys were awesome. Thank you so much. For the two countries, you were awesome. Thank you. Most recent being, Ethiopia. You guys are amazing. Thank you. That said, it's my custom to always share my observations about every country I go to. I've done that when I went to Ghana, Benin Republic, Congo, and now that I've gone to Ethiopia and come back, I feel like it's also important to share my observations. And I always do this because I just want to share some reference materials with you guys in case you're intending to travel to that country. You could have a reference material to take some tips from, and just to share my learnings and my observations, because I feel like I'm a curious person. So when I travel to these countries, one of the things I'm always ready to do, or I'm always about, is to learn as much as I can. So when I do learn and observe, I like to share that with you. These are my personal learnings and observations. They might differ from person to person. It's not conclusive, it's not exhaustive. You can travel, or if you've traveled to Ethiopia, for instance, and you have your observations, feel free to also share in the comment section. And before we proceed, if you've not subscribed, click on the subscribe button, tap on the bell, and definitely share this video. Okay, do not learn alone. Share this video. Now, first on my observation, I have about 10. First is the fact that I observed that Ethiopians are patriotic. I mean, they love their country. Ethiopians love their country so much, and they actually care about people's opinion about their country. I think I mentioned this in my previous videos. When he asked me where I am from, I said I'm from Nigeria. He was like, next question, how is Addis Ababa? Ethiopians are so patriotic about their country. Every single time I say I'm visiting, they want to know how I'm doing. So why is it important for you to know how I love Ethiopia?
Yeah, Ethiopia.
Yeah. Why did you ask how is Ethiopia?
Ethiopia, all people good.
All people good, right?
Yeah.
The fact that every single time I mentioned to people who asked where I came from, especially maybe with my ride drivers, they always followed up the conversations with, so how do you see Ethiopia? Are you enjoying your stay? How do you feel? I feel like that's so patriotic, because honestly, some people really do not care, but Ethiopians do care, and I feel like that's a good sort of feedback seeking mechanism. If there's anything that tourists feel about their country that they probably do not like, I guess it would be a positive feedback to them and something they could work on as individuals or collectively. You never can tell. So I feel like that's so good. Ethiopians, keep it up. And I also have to add that that makes visitors, well, personally, it made me feel welcome, for someone to care about how I'm faring in their country and want to know if I'm okay. I feel like that was so good and so kind of them as well. Yeah, so thank you, Ethiopians. Keep being caring, keep being patriotic, and love your country. It's important for all of us to love our countries and make sure we aspire to the best for our countries. Okay. And another observation I had was electricity in Ethiopia is quite stable. Power supply is quite stable. Like I said, I might be biased, probably because the area I stayed, Hayahulet, there was stable electricity power supply. It might not be the same for the entire country, but I need to emphasize again that that was my observation. And the other areas I went to, in Addis Ababa, even the Brizet, power supply was relatively stable. And if I'm to rate from 10, from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, I think I'm going to rate 8 over 10 in terms of power supply, which I feel is not bad for an African country. I mean, we know how African countries still grapple with electricity power supply. So well done, Ethiopia. Another thing I observed is the fact that cafes are everywhere. Cafes, restaurants, you find them all over around the streets. You're just taking a walk down the street, you see cafes, restaurants. So if you're hungry, you never lack where to go grab a bite. And that said, I did not see people hawking food, how you find in other places that I've been to. You do not find people hawking food on the street. So it's usually sold, food is usually sold like in the cafes and in the restaurants that are all over, readily available. And I feel like that's also beautiful. It helps keep the streets less congested and gives you a conducive place to walk in and eat, drink coffee, do anything. Talking about that, I mean, I don't even need to emphasize or mention the fact that coffee is everywhere in Ethiopia. On the streets, is ubiquitous. You can't miss it. Coffee, restaurants, cafes, everywhere. And I loved it. Like, I loved it so much. Another thing I also noticed is the fact that Ethiopians celebrate their culture. Like, you find it on the streets, in cafes, everywhere. I mean, the Amharic writing, you see it everywhere. And I also visited Ethiopia at the time that they were fasting. So you would walk into a restaurant, a cafe, and you'd see like green grasses strewn on the floor. And initially I was like, what's this? Why is this place so untidy? I was told, no, it's actually the season, it's the culture. I was like, okay. And afterwards I saw it like everywhere. So that's so beautiful. I feel like it's one of the beauties of not being colonized, right? Like, you get to celebrate your culture that is still unspoiled, the culture that you are proud of. I mean, that's what makes us Africans. So I noticed it, like Ethiopians, the culture is ubiquitous. You can't miss it. It's there in the food, in the dressing, in the cafe, on the streets. It's everywhere, and it's so beautiful. It's something that you need to travel to go experience. Did I also mention the music? Like, you hear Ethiopian music blaring, like from cafes on the streets, and it's just so oh my god, I loved it. I loved it so much. Oh my goodness, this particular one blew my mind. The fact that Ethiopians are so organized and orderly. Again, my observation, okay? And I say this given my own experiences and my background. Ethiopians would stay on the queue waiting to board a bus, a tram, whatever. Once you just get to the bus station, they don't even need anybody to tell them, to organize or coordinate them. They're already falling in line, like in the queue, waiting for their turn to either buy a ticket or board a bus. I found it so fascinating, like orderly. This is something I wish that Nigerians particularly, we can emulate. Yes, Nigerians. I feel like this is something good, because when I travel to learn and take as much good as possible and see how I can share and apply it in my own country. So Nigerians, I feel like this is something we can actually emulate. Like, if we can emulate this orderliness, especially in the public space, it will do our country so good. I loved it. Like, I noticed that it wasn't once, it wasn't twice. It's a culture. Like, it's a culture. It's just a mindset, a habit that Ethiopians have. They don't even need to be told. They just fall in the queue. Everything is orderly and everybody boards the bus, is happy, get to their destination safely. I mean, I loved it, Ethiopians. Keep it up, okay? I loved it so much. I'm talking about public transportation. I also observed that the cost of public transportation within Ethiopia is quite affordable. You could pay as low as, 2 birr, 4 birr, 5 birr. on a bus, a tram, and you're able to move around with ease. So that's also a good thing, you know. So if you are planning on visiting Ethiopia, you don't have to worry about, you know, public transportation within the country. It's quite affordable and you have many options to choose from. Talking about that, they also have like Ride, which is the Ethiopian version of Uber. So you can just download Ride Ferris, and anytime you want to move around, just, you know, call a ride and they will take you to where you are going to. Very affordable, convenient, and all. Even the public buses, the trams and all, they are also affordable and they are also convenient and reliable. Another one I observed that I feel like it's something I wish my country in particular could emulate is the fact that Ethiopian Muslims and Christians coexist peacefully. Listen, I'm going to talk more on this particular one. Before I visited Ethiopia, I didn't even know that there were Muslims in Ethiopia, and that's my truth. I didn't know. I've always known that Ethiopia is this Christian country, you know, Orthodox Christians and, you know, everything. I never knew that there were Muslims, like Ethiopian Muslims, until I got to Ethiopia, you know. And one experience that actually blew my mind was the fact that one of my ride drivers on one of those days, I was actually with Damaris that particular day. We were going somewhere, and then he received the call and was like, oh, his wife is calling him. They need to go have dinner. The wife just like broke her fast. And yeah, Ethiopians were fasting. I was like, oh, so your wife fasted, didn't you fast? He was like, yeah, he did. His wife is actually a Muslim. I was like, really? Your wife is a Muslim and you are? He said he's an Orthodox Christian. I was like, what? And you guys are married, living together, happy? He said yes. Like it sounded strange to him that I found it fascinating. And I told him that, well, where I come from, it's a near impossibility for a Christian and a Muslim to get married and have like this peaceful, happy, long-lasting relationship. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it's a near impossibility. It's very rare in my country. So I feel like, you know, religion is just a belief system. If we can look past, you know, the barriers and the sentiments that we allow religion to put between us, between our interactions with one another, I feel like the higher the chances of us promoting unity and peaceful coexistence on the continent. I mean, we have too many problems to let religion also be one of them. Religion is supposed to be something that should unite and, you know, harmonize the world, like bring peace to the world. But oftentimes, from my experience within my country, religion is usually like weaponized and used to divide us, which shouldn't be. Let's take a cue like from Ethiopia, how Ethiopian Christians and Muslims coexist. You do not even know that there are Muslims in Ethiopia. Well, personally, I didn't know, you know. And then there was this particular post I saw on Instagram when Ethiopians were celebrating the recent Easter. You know, there was this picture of two ladies, run athletes, the Ethiopian Christian passing the baton to the Ethiopian Muslim and saying, okay, so take over. Like, I found it so beautiful. If we can just tolerate one another in terms of religion and let peace reign, I feel like would achieve so much more together, honestly. Well, I've overflowed religion enough. Let's move to the next observation. I feel like this next observation, I've talked about it over and over in my videos, and it's not like no longer news to you guys. The fact that I observed that Ethiopians are very kind, like hospitable and respectful. I noticed that, like, it's just, and they're also giving. You know, it's just something I noticed, I observed amongst them, like in my interactions with them on the streets, everywhere. It's just there. Like, they are kind, they are hospitable, and they are respectful. That's one thing for sure about Ethiopians. Thank you, Ethiopia. I love you guys. You know, I love Ethiopia. This particular one I'm going to say now is one that I really struggled with in Ethiopia. I feel like it's something that can be improved on. Ethiopian restaurants, when you get there, you have to sit and wait for your food to be prepared before it's served. That's the one thing I really struggled with in Ethiopia, because I'm not used to that. I'm like always, oh, quickly like this. But you don't have to be hungry, like really hungry, famished, before you go to a restaurant to eat, especially the ones you find, by the road, the roadside restaurants and cafes. You don't have to wait until you are that famished before you go there. Go there or place your order when you still have like energy in you. Otherwise, you are going to get like impatient or maybe angry. I actually got impatient one day and walked out on the restaurant because I was so hungry. I needed to like eat. I had not eaten all day. I got there, I placed an order. Like, it took so long. But as I stayed longer in Ethiopia, I felt like, well, this is the culture, so somehow I had to also adapt, though it wasn't easy. So that's one thing. But I also feel like it's tied to the way Ethiopians live their life, because Ethiopians don't live their life on the fast lane. Everything is like chill, relaxed, calm, so they don't really have a problem with having to wait for their meals to be prepared. Like, you actually see Ethiopians waiting patiently. I commend them for that. Like, that's such a good character. It's a virtue, patience. But given my background and where I'm coming from, we do not necessarily have that patience, and especially when I'm hungry. So I struggled with that. But other than that, every other thing on point. When the food is served, eventually it's tasty, it's good. So they say whatever is worth waiting for is what complete the sentence. All right, so that's pretty much some of the observations I have to share about Ethiopia. If you visited Ethiopia and you have any other observations you've made that I didn't make or must have skipped my mind, drop a comment, like, share. What do you think? Ethiopians, did I say the truth, or was there anything that wasn't true? Drop a comment. I want to know. If you've not subscribed, don't forget to click on the subscribe button, tap on the bell, and definitely share this video, okay? How do you love my Habesha dress? Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in my next video, and the next one is going to be as interesting, so you don't want to miss it, okay? Mwah.